I want to talk to you about a gift, and it's a gift that you can give to yourself, actually, and to your family. It's also something that will give you peace of mind. So it's what I call a life transition binder. And I want you to understand that this is something that you can create yourself. You're most probably thinking, well, what is, a life transition binder? And it's a binder that incorporates important information from all areas of your life. Now, specifically, when I work on creating these, so actually, let me just step back again. So this is a gift. It's a gift that you can give to yourself, and it's a gift that you can give to your loved ones. It's what I call the creation of a life transition binder, and it includes important information from all areas of your life. So I'm just going to talk to you about the different areas of your life that get incorporated, and I call them sections. So they're like sections of the binder. So those sections are personal information, property, so that's all your tangible items. Then I look at financial information, and that also includes the professionals that you work with, investments. Then there's also insurance information, medical information, and service providers. Now, I actually do have a handout that I'm happy to email to you, or Matt, if I need to email it to you, and then you can distribute it. I don't, whatever makes sense. It's not a copy of my screen, but what it will be is it's just a list of those 7 sections I just named and the types of information within each section. So if it's helpful to you, I can email that out to you. So I just wanted to let you know, because I can see people writing. So before we actually get into those 7 sections and the details within each, what I would like to do is just step back a minute and help you understand like how you can use this, and also to explain why I started doing this. So about 10 years ago, my father was sick, and my parents lived in Florida and I lived here in Massachusetts. And the doctors actually didn't know what was wrong with him. They were, doing multiple tests, but it was taking a long time to come up with a diagnosis. Unfortunately, there were times when my father felt really sick. The medication was affecting him cognitively as well as physically. And so he and I basically worked to put together his life binder. Now, my father was a very sort of proper Englishman. He had never asked for help. And my mum really didn't have an idea of what they had or where it was, for that matter. And so she felt completely overwhelmed because, quite honestly, they really needed to focus their attention on his health and what was going on. And so, she really wasn't in the right state of mind to try and figure this out herself. So I worked with my father. We put together a binder for him and a binder for my mum. And I had a copy of those binders. And there were times when my dad could say, I feel fabulous. I am so on top of this, don't worry. But there were many times where, for the first time ever in my father's life, he needed help. And he knew that I had the information and I could seamlessly step in and help them. And the nice thing is, it wasn't a burden. He was so afraid of being a burden on to me. And because I had all this information, I could just seamlessly step in. I could help him. And then when he felt better and back on his feet, then he could just do it himself. So we sort of stepped in and out without having to worry. And, I could take care of their affairs, paying their bills. And it, worked really well. Now, when the doctors finally came up with the diagnosis, which was terminal, my dad, didn't have a lot of time left. So every 3 weeks, I would travel to Florida and I would help my parents. My mum was the caregiver, and so I was able to give her a break for a week, and I was able to be present with my dad. And I have to say, if I didn't have this binder, I would never have had the opportunity to just sit and focus on him and his needs. And, it was a remarkable time to have together. Time that I will, now as I look back, it was really precious to have had that time. And then obviously, so while he was incapacitated, I could step in. My mum really valued having the binder because for the first time, she had a reference, it was a resource that she could go back to anytime she needed to help her understand what they had and where it was. Now, when my father did pass away shortly afterwards, it also allowed us to focus on each other and the grieving process, because we weren't scrambling to figure any of this information out. We had it in that binder at our fingertips. So that's how I started. And you know what? I didn't give it a second thought. I never thought, oh, I need to do more with this. Now, 5 years ago, my husband, who was in his late 40s, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And, it wasn't a good diagnosis, and his prognosis wasn't good either. Now, I will first say that he is cancer-free and doing wonderfully well. So, but at that time, it made me realize that I did not know what we had and where it was. And it really dawned on me that you're never too young to put one of these binders together. If you've got people who depend on you, who may need to support you, you cannot help them unless you can access this information. And it needs to be organized and easy to understand. So that's the point, really, when I started to realize that I need, like I said, you're never too young, and that I needed to do more and really to offer this presentation to other people, because my goal is that people will put this together. And if somebody needs help, then I will help them do it. So that's how I got started. Now, some people say to me, oh, I have an estate lawyer, I've got my legal documents, or I have a financial planner. And I say to them, that's fantastic. Obviously, you have them for a reason. But they each only know a small part of the information that goes into this binder. What this binder does is it pulls together all the information from those different sections in your life. It pulls all this important information together into one place. And, yes, obviously, if you've got a will or certain legal documents, that's good to know, and it's good to be in there. However, that's a small part of the binder. And when we create those legal documents, we create either an executor, we list an executor or an executrix. And in Massachusetts, we also call it a personal representative. We tell them what we want them to do, but we don't give them the tools or the information to actually do that job. By putting together a binder like this, you are giving them the tools to do it. But I just want to remind you too that while the binder is a great resource for someone's end of life, it is an incredible reference that you can always turn to validate information just, we all forget things from time to time. So it's a great place where you can just turn to look at how you've set things up, how you pay certain bills, or, who you work with for your snow removal, whatever it may be. And then if somebody's incapacitated, it allows your family to help you when you need the help the most. And then when you're back on your feet, then you can take it over again. So anyway, what we're going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you some slides. And Matt, if you can just confirm that this is working okay.
Yeah, I don't see it yet.
Did it come up?
Starting. Yep, you're good.
Okay, fabulous, thank you. Okay, so my question to you all is all your important information. So, and again, I look at 7 sections or 7 types of information: personal, financial, insurance, medical, property, service providers. Is all that information in one place, so organized and really easy to understand and access. Does your family know what your wishes are? Do they know what investments you have, where to find them, and do they have authorization to access it? So my question really is, if you needed assistance, if you became incapacitated, could your family seamlessly step in to help you manage your affairs? Okay, there. So if you answered no, then I would say it's time to take action and to create your life transition binder, or to let me help you. So now we're actually going to talk about the different sections in the binder. So we talked about the first one, which is personal data. I'm just going to look for somebody. The personal data. So here, I'm just actually going to go through the sections first, and then we'll start looking at some of the details within each section. So personal data, tangible property, financial, investments, and that, in financial, I also look at the professionals that you work with. In investments, we look at income streams. Then there's insurance, and that's all different kinds of insurance, medical, and then the service providers. So again, I use these different categories because organizing the information so that it's easy for your loved ones to understand makes a huge difference. Okay, so now we're going to look specifically just at the personal section. So in the personal section, obviously you want to put down some important details, dates, contact numbers. So, family contact numbers. You want to put down any form of ID that you have, like, so your driver's license, your passport. If you're a veteran, you would put down, your service number. So you want to look at information like that. Again, and then I recommend that you look at religious directives, your end of life wishes. It's really important if you have prepaid for your end of life expenses. It's really important that your loved ones know this. So you want to provide them with the details of it. And you want to explain what you've paid for. And you need to be specific about what your intentions are. Now, a lot of people will ask me, does it make sense to do this? And you know what? It's a very personal decision. But there are a lot of people who say to me, I lost a loved one. They had taken this, they had actually made these decisions and prepaid for their, whatever it was, cremation. They had given me details about, a memorial, and they've said that it was a huge benefit to them during a very difficult time. But it's a very personal decision. So if you do that, you just need to make sure your family knows it. The other thing that I look at here is in the personal section, I look at, if you have a pet, it's really important to provide, information about your pet and the care that you want to be given to your pet. And if you've got dependent children with disabilities, you need to provide that information there. So you're looking at really important personal information that your family needs to know. And the last section of the personal information, I like to include passwords to technology. So for example, if you're assisting a loved one and you're accessing some information that requires two-step authentication, a passcode, and is going to be sent to their cell phone most probably. And so you need to be able to access the cell phone, or perhaps you need to access their laptop or a desktop. So I like to record at the end of the personal section just the passwords to, let's say, a phone or a Gmail account, or your laptop, things like that, so that people can actually step in and help you there. Okay, so now I'm jumping to the next section, which is property. So under property, I really mean tangible items, physical items you own. And it can be renting as well, obviously. But so I look at your home, car, timeshare, perhaps, business. You may have, be part of a partnership. You may have a safe deposit box. You may have a boat or a safe. And what I recommend that you do is that you step into your loved one's shoes and think about, if I had to call, let's say you, any company, let's say for your home, if I needed information about your home, I most probably need your parcel ID, or I need to know where it is filed, so what county, the book, and the page. And I also need to know the address and how it is titled. Is the house held in jointly, or in one person's name, or in trust? When it comes to a car, just important details. Obviously, if you lease your car, they need to understand that it's leased and who you lease it with. So you would provide the information about the car, the company that you lease it from, contact number for them. Again, it's so that they could get in touch with them if they needed to. Now, we talked about the house. If you do have a house and you have a mortgage, well, they need to know the company, the mortgage company, the contact number, and you should have an account number. So again, just put yourself into their shoes. What information will they need in order to help you? So that gives you an idea of the different things that I consider to be tangible items. Now, you should also look at collectibles. And I also recommend that people look at the sentimental value of items, because sometimes you may have an item that has no real value to it, but it has a huge amount of sentimental value to your children or your grandchildren. And in situations like that, I would recommend that you just make a record of it. So next, if we go on to into the financial section. So the first thing that I like to do when I create these binders is I look at the professionals you work with. Do you have an accountant? Do you have an estate lawyer? Do you have a financial planner? So there you would list them and their contact information. And then you should also document what documents do you have. So, for example, do you have a will? Do you have a healthcare proxy? Do you have your advance directives or a power of attorney? Or do you have a trust? So you would want to list the information, what you have. I think it's always good as you list it to see how updated it is, because sometimes, we don't have to update these documents that often, but sometimes we may have a document that's outdated and the people listed in it may no longer be able to help you. So always, if you're putting together a binder like this, it's a great time to look at those documents. So the next thing that I look at is your banking and credit card information. So this is what I would recommend that you do. You would list the banking information. You would list if you have, like a checking account, a savings account. What I recommend is that people list if they have bills set up to charge or to pay automatically from, let's say, a checking account. So I'm just going to put it in context here. When I was helping my dad, it was really helpful for me to know that his health insurance, his supplemental health insurance, was automatically set up to pay from his checking account. Now, he had some that were set up to pay directly as auto pay, and he had others that he actually had to go into and initiate. So it was really valuable for me to understand how it was set up. And so with the banking information, I would recommend that you list if you have any bills set up as auto pay, because that's really valuable for your loved ones just to know as they help you. And I would also, just look at an account like a bank. Is it jointly held? Is it held in your name, an individual's name? Is it held in trust? How is the account set up? So these are things that you should look at. And on the screen it says, like, is it set up as a for POD? That means payable on death. And when an account is set up like that, it actually means that it won't have to go through probate, because it will automatically pay when somebody passes. For your credit cards, I would recommend that what you do is you list your credit cards and you do the same thing. You list information about bills that you have set up to charge automatically to your credit card. One example is, quite often, if you have an Easy Pass transponder, you have to give them a credit card number because they're going to bill you automatically when your balance gets low. And so in situations like that, that's an automatic charge. So you would list under your credit card, Easy Pass, and you can list frequency. Now, in a situation like that, it's as needed. But perhaps you donate to public radio and you donate monthly, and it's automatically charged to your credit card. So you would put on there, PBS donation monthly. So again, it's a great way for your loved ones and actually for you to remember what charges you have set up that are automatic. It's also very valuable because sometimes our credit cards get hacked. And when they get hacked, sometimes it's really challenging to remember what payments were set up to charge. So who do you need to notify? That the card is no longer working. So, it's a great reference that you can turn to in situations like that. Now, the next section of your binder is your investment section. And again, this is just how I like to set them up. Under this section, you would list the investment firms that you work with. And when I say an investment firm, I'm thinking of a Fidelity or a T. Rowe Price or a Raymond James, whoever it is. You would list the company, the investment firm, the contact number, if you work with someone specifically, their number, and account numbers and beneficiary details. Now, some people say to me, okay, for my, like a bank checking account or an investment account, should I really list the whole account number? And I often say, it's a personal choice. Some people are not comfortable listing the entire number, but then I would recommend that you list the last 4 digits of the account number. Because even with the last 4 digits, if you can provide all the other personal details that confirms, who you are and the person you're trying to help, they can then work with you. Now, actually taking a step back, in your personal information, you should actually list your social security number and your Medicare number. Now, when I work with clients, I actually don't take the social security number. I just leave a placeholder. But, when we're looking at banking and investment information, if you only have the last 4 digits of an account number, you can guarantee that they're going to need either the last 4 digits of your social security number, or they might need all of it. So the next section, as part of your investment section, I also recommend looking at income streams. And let me just take a step back and explain how beneficial that is. Now, when I was helping my dad, I was paying bills for him. So I could see money going out of the accounts, but it was really beneficial for me to know when money was coming in. And you don't have to put, like information that's 100% accurate. You could just say, and as an example, social security. And I would list frequency, so it comes in monthly, and then I would list where it goes. So, excuse me, I would list deposited into Bank of America checking account. Well, I only have one Bank of America checking account, so I know exactly where it's going. And if I go to the bank information, the financial information of my binder, I have it listed. Now, I personally am not worried about listing a checking number in a binder. And the reason is because every time I write a check from my bank account, the check itself has the account number on it. So we do hand that information out. But that just gives you an idea of why income streams is valuable. So if you get your required minimum distribution every year, you can say, required minimum distribution from this account. It may just be, Fidelity, IRA required minimum distribution. I receive it annually, and this is the account it goes into. So again, for a loved one who's helping you, it's really beneficial because then they know where the money's coming, so they know from which account they can pay your bills. Okay. I'm jumping to the next section now, which is the insurance section. So here in the insurance section, I look at all different kinds of insurance, but I also try to keep it like sort of contained in its own area. So all, your home and car insurance is in one section. Your medical insurance is the next page. I may have, life insurance or long-term care on the next page. Now, some people have, other kinds of insurance. So whether it's car or motorcycle insurance, or it could be RV insurance, a boat insurance. So, obviously you would list the ones that apply to you. I'm just trying to give you an idea. And again, put yourself in your loved one's shoes. Think about what are the kinds of information that they would need. Now, if you work with an agent, I would recommend that you list, obviously, the name of the agent and their phone number. And if you have a specific person, list that. But then when you're looking at each kind of insurance, so your homeowner's insurance, you have a policy number. So list your policy number, and list the contact information. If you, for your car insurance, you would want to list again, like company name, the contact information, and also the policy number. So for each one of them, excuse me, regardless of the kind of insurance it is, you want to make sure they have the details that they need to follow up. So an account number or a policy number, a phone number, and a company name is really valuable. Now, when it comes to something like your medical information, when you're looking at medical insurance, you have a number of other important details listed. On the back of any insurance card is obviously a customer service number. You should list that. But you really want to look at, do you have a group ID or a personal ID number too? And you would want to list that information. Plus, does that insurance also cover vision coverage? Do you have dental coverage separately, or is that included? So you would want to put specifics about that. Now, if you have end of life or insurance or life insurance or even long-term care, I would recommend that you consider putting in the back of your binder like a summary sheet. So when you have an insurance policy, like a life insurance policy like this, you would actually have a insurance summary sheet. And it's really, I would recommend that you put a copy of it in the back of your binder. And then you want to think about what information do they need to know here. And it's a little bit more in depth, but you want to know, first of all, and you should always review this, who are the beneficiaries? Is there a death benefit? What are the premiums and how are the premiums set up to pay? Obviously a company phone number and the name of the insurance. So, and I'm just going to say like life insurance or long-term care. It could be John Hancock or it could be Pac Life. And you would put the phone number and the policy number and then the details about the premium and how you pay it. And who the beneficiaries are. It's always good to look, and I will tell you something, most insurance companies, sorry, my dog is having a little nightmare here. There you go, try to wake her up. Most insurance contracts, like life insurance, will allow you to list a primary and a secondary beneficiary. I would recommend that you all look, and this is, look at those policies and make sure you have both the primary and secondary beneficiary listed. And the reason for this is if, life insurance pays out directly as soon as a claim is filed. It doesn't go through probate and nobody pays taxes on it. It's one of the few places. But what I would say is if that person, your primary beneficiary, predeceases you, then it has to be incorporated into your estate. It will go through probate and taxes will be due on it. So it's always good, first of all, to look and make sure that the beneficiaries are alive and it's who you want to get it, and then make sure you add a secondary beneficiary. The next section that I would recommend listing or putting in your binder would be medical. And what I like to do here is I like to list the doctors that clients see, why they see them, and the phone number. If it's somebody you need to see frequently, then list that too. I also think some people have, like, if you see somebody for acupuncture, a chiropractor, or a physical therapist, if you found somebody you really like working with, even if you're not seeing them right then and there, to list them. Also, there are a number of online portals and medical portals. So you've got, let's see, Partners Patient Gateway, which is now called Brigham. But if you type in Partners, it still comes up. And then I think there's one called MyChart as well, just as an example. These are online portals where you can go online and you can look at the team of doctors you work with. They always have an up-to-date list of the medications you take. I would print out those medications and I would include it in the binder. I would also list your login information so that your loved one can seamlessly, again, step in, and if they needed some information, it would all be there. And then I also think it's valuable to put in some medical history. And what I suggest, and again, this is just something that I think, I don't list every little detail. If somebody's got high blood pressure or takes cholesterol medicine, I look at major diagnoses. And then, so as an example, the reason why I think it's valuable is, so it turns out that my husband had sort of a rare kind of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but his mum and dad also had a different form of, one had Hodgkin's and the other one has non-Hodgkin's. Well, I tend to think there's some genetic component there, but until they find out what the genes are that cause it, we won't be able to do the testing. But I want to make sure that when that is available, that both of my boys are able to get tested for it. And so it's important that they know exactly what my husband had. And so that's why top line important, an important diagnosis I think is valuable to have here. Okay, so the next section is, and this is actually the last one that I usually recommend, is service providers. So now when I think of service providers, that's all the people that you work with. Now, the first thing I would recommend, and this is how I set it up, I set it up so I look at utilities as one page. And I list all the utility companies that I work with, or if I'm working with a client, it's all the utility companies I work with. So I may say, okay, so cable is, Xfinity or Comcast, whomever it is, doesn't matter. The account number, a phone number, and then what I do is I list how I pay that bill. Do I pay by check? Do I have it set up to charge automatically to my credit card, or is it set up as auto pay to my bank? Then I look at the next utility. Okay, it could be gas. I list the company name, the account number, phone number, and again, how I pay it. So I do that for the whole utility section. Then I look at one for like landscapers, snow removal, and pest control. So I try to group the information together, and then that's how I list it. So I have a section for subscriptions and donations. I actually have one that's for other, because there are some that just don't quite fit in to these neat categories. I have one that's for credit cards. So again, I can just list the card number, the phone number. I don't have to list the account number because it is in the binder already. But what I like to do is, list how I pay for that. Is it set up to automatically pay? Or do I have to write a check? And again, this actually, so my mum loved this section of the binder because she didn't know how my dad paid the bills. And so, and actually even now, she can look at her binder and it's a reference. It's just a quick reference. It's a great way just to remember, who are some of the people that you work with, because you may not, the snow removal, that's only part of the year, but how do you pay them? It's a good reminder, and it's great for your loved ones if they're helping you. And then the last page of this section, I usually like to list accounts. So online accounts where I say mine, but your credit card details are stored. So in this, I like to use tables. That's how I format a lot of the information when I'm putting these binders together. So I would list the company name, so it could be Amazon. And then I list my login details and my password. And that way, I just got a list of the accounts online that have my credit card stored so that I can either go in and delete it and then close out the account, or you can get a loved one to do that for you. But if they don't know that you have these accounts, you know, obviously it's challenging then. And, you know, you can also choose to add password details into this section. So this is where I just say, I urge you to put one of these binders together. It's an incredible resource that will help you now. It will give you great peace of mind. And like I said, it's like a gift, but it's not just a gift to your loved ones, it's a gift to you. A lot of my clients actually say to me, I never realized how often I would use it and reference it. I know I forget things all the time. So, you know, they really see value to it. And so I would really recommend that you do it. Gather your details together, organize it. What I like to do too is at the back of the binder, I put sheet protectors. I have a Velcro envelope in there so that you can put some of your important documents in there. And then I'm listing my email here for you. If you do have any questions after the presentation, if you're putting your binder together, feel free to email me. I'm happy, I'm happy if people put it together, and I'm happy to help anyone who has questions. You know, like I said, I look back, and obviously I wish my father was still here, but I look back at that time that we had together, and it was precious. And if it weren't for this binder, I wouldn't have had that time. So I really encourage you to organize this information, to put it together. And then when you put it together, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. When you put it together, I would actually recommend that you sit down with your loved ones. If you can't do it actually in person, at least over Zoom, show them what you've done, talk to them about it, tell them the kind, you know, if, like I said, if they can't be there with you looking at it, talk to them about the information that's in there. Tell them where they can find it. Now, some people say to me, oh my goodness, you know, it's got all my important information in there. So I have to be really careful. And of course, if you've got a safe, put it in the safe. For people, some of my clients, they say to me, well, you know what, I'm going to list it as grandma's recipes, or, you know, I have pets, so I'm going to list it as on the front of the binder. I'll just show you actually. Hopefully you can see. So it literally is a binder. I don't know if you can see. And then mine says that it's my transition binder, but I actually recommend that they put in a new sheet, and they can call it grandma's recipes, or they can call it pet care, whatever you want. Obviously make sure your loved ones know where it is, know where to find it. And you know what, there may come a time where you decide that you want to give it to them. One thing I would say is that if you put this together, just be very careful about having the file on your computer. when I create these for my clients, I work on a flash drive, and I only put it on the flash drive. And then my clients actually get that flash drive. I don't keep it. And the reason is it's for your security and privacy. So I would also recommend that you work on a flash drive, because you don't, everyone's, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but we hear these stories about how companies with great security are being hacked. So even if we have, certain software on our computers, the potential exists that they can be hacked. And so that's why I personally like to use the flash drive. And then that also means that I've got that, for my own file, I've got a hard copy and I've got the flash drive. But like I said, for my clients, I actually give them that flash drive. Anyway, so that's it. So I really would urge you to put it together. And like I said, if I can help you in any way, please let me know, because I wish that everyone would put one of these together. So if anyone has any questions.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Yeah, if anyone has questions, feel free to type them in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask.
I have a question. I'm fairly organized and I have a lot of this in an Excel spreadsheet, and I did something similar for my mom, but my kids don't want paper and they're far away. And so my daughter said, well, you need to do it digitally. And it's just really challenging, because then I have to update and correspond my Excel file with this other document, which for her, so you're constantly, if I have, like I keep an Excel file with everything you have mentioned that, but if I then have to update another document, I'm going to make mistakes, and it's just really complicated. So for millennials who want it digitally, I was thinking of maybe creating a PowerPoint presentation, which also had visuals and saying it's in this drawer or it's here, or photographs tied to an Excel spreadsheet. So I have it all organized. It's just formatting it in a way that the next generation doesn't want a hard binder. That's the last thing they want.
Right. No, I understand that. I agree. So I think the hard binder is very valuable to you, and something that you,
and I have that.
Okay, perfect. Then I would say, like, having the file. So I mean, even if you create the binder, obviously you've got the file that you use to create it with. So that file you can put on a flash drive. Now, I personally don't like putting it out there in the cloud. And the reason is, and there was actually a Forbes article, which I have, that talked about, they said, sure, of course, there are places where you can, go online, you can put it out there, it's in the cloud. Yes, they've got security. But I thought it was actually interesting, because Forbes, in this particular article, which was within the last couple of years, were a bit hesitant for security reasons.
But that's not, I would never put it on the cloud, so that's not my question. My question is the format, the digital format, like a PowerPoint presentation married. Is there something that can marry Excel and visuals that I can then, that it already exists, that I can then put into a, even a hard drive or something that an external hard drive,
Right. Yeah, I don't know of anything that exists.
So I have to create it.
Yeah. Yes, as far as I know. What I've done is, so I create them in Word, because obviously when I'm creating them and I'm giving my flash drive, I'm giving that flash drive to the client so that they have the flash drive so that they can update it. But I use tables, and the reason I use tables is because visually it makes it very streamlined and very easy to use. And visually, it segments the information really nicely. so that if somebody's looking at it, whether it's on the computer, directly from the flash drive, or whether they have a printout, it's the presentation of the information that can be really important.
So you're doing Word and everything, because Excel is more cumbersome. Maybe that's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I use Word, but I'm also using it because I need something that's universal that everyone can work with. And I like the table format, just from a visual perspective.
Can you transfer Excel files to a table?
I would say what I would do, and I may not be, up to speed on it, I would drag it over. So I would drag the cells over.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That way.
There's an interesting comment in the chat that saving things digitally after time, the format may no longer be readable.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point too. Yes, I totally agree. My goal is that when I create it and put it in a Word format, and it does convert over into Pages with a Mac, because I work with clients who have Macs as well, that my goal is that they update it if something changes. And so, because you are going to have to update it from time to time. And, I try and use something that's universal, that everyone has, but there will be limitations. So, yeah. Does anyone else have any questions?
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
If there
Thank
are
you
no
very
further
much.
If there are no further questions, thank you, Sandra, and thank you everyone for coming. This program was recorded, so you can watch it on the Cary Library YouTube channel, and I'll send that recording out once it's up. And then we will send out the handout as well. Yeah.
Okay, so then, Matt, I will just send it to you, and then you can distribute it.
Sure, great.
Okay, fabulous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.